Here, I'm gonna start recording.
Is that the, hold on one second. Is that the asthma? Is that the thing Josh set up? Is that the process Josh created?
Yeah, AZPO is
Okay.
an acronym for Autonomous Zero Point Organization.
Yeah. And have you guys dug into it? Like, I looked into it about a year ago, and I saw a presentation on it. I don't know if it's still the same, but it was very, very there was a lot to learn, like it felt like very in depth. Is it simple or is it in depth? Is it time consuming? What's your input?
Potentially in depth in its establishment, like the bulk of the work is going to be done in the beginning, developing what's called a master plan and potentially sub-master plans. But after a hypothetical month or two, without attaching timelines to it, of like getting really deep on the vision and the mission, and how we agree to make decisions together, and establishing all of that kind of like overarching structure of like what's going to keep us within our integrity and alignment, then moving forward, it actually streamlines the whole process, because we don't have to like all come together, for example, to make a decision on every little thing. Like, as long as that decision is being made in the direction of the vision or the mission or the overarching master plan, then we can collectively agree that it's a good decision to be made. And we can establish frameworks and protocols to ensure alignment. Like, but once we have like a vision, a mission, and like 10 values, then we can weigh each decision across those values and be like, is this like beneficial to the individual value set? Is this beneficial to the community value set? Yes or no? And then instead of us, like, say there's ends up being 100, 200 of us, instead of us having to like come together and have a conversation about every little decision, we can kind of categorize our pursuit forward, right? By establishing different sectors of focus. And then within those sectors, like the handful of people that are working on something can just make the decision that is in the direction of the master plan, But we've all agreed upon the master plan. So we're all in agreement of decisions that are made in the direction of the master plan becoming what it is, So yeah, anyways, what I was alluding to with Jorge and Ryan is, if you guys are interested in diving deeper in that structure, then I would love to send you kind of like some onboarding links similar to ones I've already sent Ray. If not, I just wanted to take the time and space to like open up for questions or curiosities and let you guys know that me, Alex, Josh, and Oliver are going to begin exploring this direction and looking at what a master plan looks like in sync with the vision and mission that we're working on with Jorge.
Is this the, because I've watched a couple of videos. There's like a 15-minute video and an hour-ish long video where Oliver's explaining the concept of AZPO. Is that what you're referring to?
That is the concept AZPO that I'm referring to. Yes, I don't know exactly which videos you've watched, but
yeah, because I've watched a couple, I mean, like the idea that kind of like, I don't fully understand it, but the gist of it seems like it's something that I mean, it's kind of like along the lines of what I'm looking for, anyways, as far as like with my project. And then this, I don't know if this is like just for me, but like I never really intended to monetize Beer Diet Project. It was just something that I wanted to share, and I just don't like, the only thing is like, obviously need to find a way to fund it, but I'm assuming that if they understand it, they can just like tell me like, hey, here's how we're gonna fund it, kind of thing. Like I'm all good for it, because other than that, like what I have focused on this week is I'm starting to go back to working on the system that I've been putting together, so I can actually walk people through my my process, my method. That way I can open it up to the community. I know Ray is actually already starting a little bit, and I don't know, I mean, he's too early in the process, but I don't know, I'm just curious to like see. So let me see, what else did I want to talk about today? So I mean, I guess like just kind of, I went back to the video on like vision, and I don't know if that's what we want to focus on again for this video, which I mean, I'm fine with it, because like I think like the more clear we are with that, the better it's going to be. You know, I think that it's something that's worth taking the time to get it right, and kind of like what I started to put together is the idea of like, okay, who are we looking to attract? Like who are we, like how are we going to identify, like, you know, we're all here creating, we're all here manifesting, and basically I kind of boil it down to like, we're essentially what I refer to as sovereign awakened healers. It's what I seem to be getting. It's like pretty much everyone here is in a way seeking either sovereignty or is a healer or both. And so that's kind of what I was, I mean, as I was like listening to not just our videos, but also like listening to the podcast and just kind of getting a vibe for the community. I'm going to start writing kind of like our own little manifesto with that in mind. And so maybe I guess what I would like to mastermind on is, you know, kind of like defining like that, like what is the what is that like ideal member, like who are we looking to attract into our community kind of thing. That way we can kind of define like, okay, you know, these are the people that we really want to attract. You know, people that are looking for sovereignty. You know, what does that look like? And, you know, just a few examples, like, okay, to me, like a sovereign awakened healer is someone who, you know, it's always like thankful, you know, start with gratitude. I think it's like very powerful. You know, vibrating at high frequencies, manifesting, you know, just basically working on themselves more than anything else. Because I feel like the more that someone works on themselves is, you know, really what allows someone to actually go out and heal others, right? You can't really heal other people if you can't heal yourself. So those are just some ideas that I have there, and then just to put it together with what I'm working on with my project. My project is just that. It's like I basically share diet tips that I've learned, you know, that have helped me get energy, better sleep, and clean my body up so that, you know, my body can produce hormones, but also learn how to take that energy and modulate it and raise it, like align, you know, what they call align your chakras, basically raise your vibration from your lower chakras all the way to your crown chakra, you know, using sound, you know, frequencies, whether color therapy, there's all kinds of things that you can do. The color of food, there's all kinds of like different strategies, there's herbs, there's all kinds of things. And with all these topics, I do a lot of these things, but I'm definitely not an expert on every single one of them. But that was kind of like my idea. It's like, wow, if I can share this with other people who may be experts in certain topics, like, you know, herbalism, certain topics like, I don't know. I mean, there's just so many meditation, you know, Reiki healers, things like that. You know, I want to basically build a framework and then mastermind with other people who may be more experts in that specific area, and then just build that framework to kind of like bring everyone together and help everyone heal, you know, and that side, and then use that same framework to translate it towards finances, because I think like finances is also a very similar approach where you need to, you know, have that discipline. You have to unlearn a lot of old paradigms. You have to, you know, essentially recreate yourself. There's healing involved with that as well, and so that would be like another side of it. So that's kind of like what I've been dabbling with this last week.
Cool. Awesome. So then what I'm picking up from that, if I were to consolidate it into like how we can best use the next 40 minutes, I think if what you have down in terms of copy or ideas specifically in terms of vision mission, maybe we can integrate that and then move forward into figuring out like, because what you talked about is who are we trying to attract into the mastermind, like, right, like getting very, very clear on like how we want to build this community bigger. What do we all have in common? What do we want like new members to have in common with us? But I think that that's also largely contingent upon who and how we want to be extending a helping hand to the world. So I think we can look at the vision mission, right? And then within that, like get really clear on how we see ourselves reaching out to the world to lend that helping hand. You know, like what are we trying to do? How are we going to reach out and lend that helping hand? And then once we're clear on those two things, it will become much clearer like who the people are that are going to help us do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Can I add into this?
Yeah.
So what I was sensing from Jorge was like his perspective on it, and which is valuable. And from his perspective, it feels like it's health and leadership or networking. And I just wanted to like, I thought it was, from my perspective, I thought it was just light leaders. So I figured we're bringing together like the teams from all over, and health is one of those pieces of the pie. You know, it's like, it's not half of the pie. It's like, you know, it's one of the many spokes that make this up. So, you know, the value of the network is getting us to balance each other, and each one giving our gifts, you know, each individual gifts, from marketing to sales to healing to, you know, spiritual growth, whatever it may be. But I think we can break it down into many different categories that we're going to have, you know, different branches. You know what I mean? That's where the value is going to happen, the synergy. And so it feels like you have the health part down, like that is your passion. And I think, you know, you maybe, you know, helping develop that piece of it could be beneficial. I don't know. That's just from my perspective. I don't know.
Yeah. And you're 100% right. So, and that's fair to note and bring to the surface. Like, we're trying to build a community of communities here. And so addressing individual human health as a component of cultivating individual human sovereignty is one of those communities within the Lightleaders Mastermind community.
Exactly.
As will be like educating around financial abundance, as will be educating around like dealing with emotional trauma, as will be educating around what does it look like to actually onboard into like decentralized tech and using, you know, cryptographic assets and these types of things. And so that's also what I was trying to allude to when I was saying that, like, I think if we get really clear, like if, for example, our vision and mission is just simply like to onboard the planet into the new paradigm, right? Then from that vision mission, like what are all of the pieces that we need to like successfully onboard humanity, right? And then once we get clear on what all of those pieces are, then we can begin looking at like what type of people fill that space.
Yeah.
Cool. And it's potentially a really long list, you know, it's potentially like 20 or 30 different attributes that bring that whole picture together.
And I think getting that core, you know, spiritual fundamental centeredness, you know, what you were talking about, maybe with getting those core principles is going to bring together all those people, and that's where that harmony is going to generate.
Right. And so then that's also like a core values type of thing. I like the term principles you just used there. So like having a vision and mission is one thing, but also having a set of like 10 or 12 like core values, core principles that we consciously operate on. Then people can come and see like this list of values, if you will, if it was, for example, on our website, and I'd be like, holy shit, like I align with every single one of those. So then I would encourage, Jorge, if you have anything written down for vision or mission. If not, I can open up a Word document here and we can just kind of start brainstorming some things. And then secondarily, looking at like what are our overarching values, with a third focus then of how do we want to extend those first 2 points out to the world.
Yeah, I like the idea of doing a Word document. I mean, I have notes, but I don't have anything written down as far as like a vision, mission statement kind of thing. I just have like a bunch of random notes that we need to, you know, put together, and I'd rather do that, you know, with the group.
So I'll open a document here now. I could share my screen if you want, or I can just take notes as we go. But sorry to cut you off. Keep going.
Oh no, that's fine. That was all I wanted to say for now, I guess. Yeah, I think sharing a screen will probably be good, so we can kind of follow what's being written down.
Boom, 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 boom.
I was just writing some principles that I felt like were key, and I think you know, if we're gonna be light leaders, it's like we want to be of the light and, you know, of the highest good, and part of that is, you know, operating from openness and honesty, truth, love. So I think like full transparency, also humility. You know, I feel like that's how we're gonna generate the most, you know, group resonance. Like transparency, I think, is so key, and you know, everybody here to help one another.
I love it. So maybe a good place to start then, because all of our brains are likely flowing in this direction, is you guys can just maybe one at a time. Ray, you just went, so I'll give you the opportunity to continue. I only typed these three, but then Jorge can go and Ryan can go, and we can just generate like a rough list here of values that we think we hold. And either later today or at another call, we can kind of then dilute it and consolidate it and make it like a structured list of like the 10 most important ones. A lot of them will probably be repeats as well, but for the sake of right now, just getting our brains into a Word document.
Yeah.
Type of list. Ray, you said love, transparency, humility.
Yeah. So it was truth. So through truth is openness and then you know, just speaking the truth, you know, no lies, no illusion, no false precepts, you know.
The golden rule.
The golden rule: love your neighbor as you love yourself. And then humility is huge, so that we can continue to grow and see the error of our ways and be able to grow and not get stuck in spiritual ego.
Yeah, I think that's huge.
Yeah.
Being a student, when you're green, you're growing. When you're ripe, you're rotting.
Seeking the highest truth, always, you know, ascending, you know, seeking the highest light, you know.
Yeah. Ascension, seeking. Jorge or Ryan, do either of you have stuff you want to add to this list? Just brainstorming right now.
Yep. Courage.
Courage. I love it.
Courage to me speaks from heart center. It means that we dive into our fears and heart connection. Yeah. Curiosity is a massive one for me. I feel that the current collective has lost the that part, the imaginative faculty of the mind. So remaining curious to what life is, being open to new information in that sense. Inclusivity, which ties back to co-creation, so that we create an all-inclusive society where each person has the space to explore their unique gifts and talents, and every person plays a unique role to them, and authenticity.
Okay, beautiful. Jorge, you got anything bouncing around in your head?
Not at the moment. Not on the values principle list, at least.
Okay, cool. This is a good place to start. And just to be clear, guys, then what I'll do after this call later today and tomorrow is go through and kind of consolidate this and expand a little bit and see if I can bring forth a rough draft of like our 10 overarching values to the next call.
What about,
Sorry,
I think I just came up with one, adding like self-agency, you know, like basically like self-leadership.
Yeah.
Yep. You pull the words right out of there. That was just the last one I was going to add. Self-agency, would you call that self-governance or
Self-agency, or I like self-governance too.
whatever? Yeah.
But this also then goes into like individual sovereignty, you know, like embracing the power that you have,
taking
to
responsibility,
manifest and master your own life.
Yeah. The word inclusivity is, you know, I feel like it's encompassed in love your neighbor. But I know the word inclusivity is like some of those, you know, it's also taken on a bad reputation in some places as well. So I think like,
Yeah,
you know,
like
love,
non-discriminatory.
Yeah. I feel like if we love others, it's just going to be like, I mean, that's, you know, the ultimate. We're gonna be inclusive,
non-judgmental. Okay, cool. Then
I guess
Jorge,
I was coming slightly. I was coming from the angles, I don't know how to word this, but how can we empower each individual to play a role? So it's, I understand there's different sort of semantics to that word, but it's more that, you know, I think we touched on this last week, where if you have a universal basic income, well, how do you, some people might sit back and be like, all right, well, work is done here, but we want to encourage people to play a specific role, you know, because we're talking 8 billion people on the planet, right? So
that's why like that's one of the benefits of I mean, the monetary system has been corrupted, but just the idea of exchange of energy, you know, typically in an uncorrupted system, people get rewarded for value creation, you know, and that is that drive. So that's why like universal basic income could be dangerous, because you'll be rewarding people for their negative habits. They could be just using it to do drugs. And, you know, it's like we break the reward structure and we break the society. So I feel like that's why the new energy currencies that are going to be developed, I feel like, you know, creating rewards for people to help others become their greatest selves, you know, and just really for us, I mean, through love, we're going to be investing in others, but also creating the systems that help us get rewards for helping others as well. Keeping that energetic exchange alive.
Love that.
beautiful. Okay, I'm in alignment with everything that's been listed here. So again, I'll go through and try and consolidate and combine so that it comes down to like 10 kind of overarching values and principles, but this is a great start. Then also, Jorge, let's bounce back to what do you have something working already, kind of rough copy for a vision mission?
I guess like for a vision, it's at least like what I see, or how I envision like this being, you know, kind of like a place where, what's that? It's like Proverbs, like what Proverbs says, right? It's like plans fail where there is no counsel, but they succeed when counselors are many. Like I want this to be that place you know, to be that place where people come and they have all these, you know, counselors basically at their disposal. So we have a lot of people who, you know, have spent time working on themselves, you know, which I guess that could be kind of like a valid principle, like being constantly working on yourself, becoming the best version of yourself, because that's part of like what's required to be, you know, part of the community. It's like you're bringing some sort of like value, which you can only do so by constantly working on your craft. And therefore you can be a valuable counselor. So like, for example, I can spend time, you know, learning everything that I can about gut health and you know, like let that be my focus, and then I can rely on other members of the community to guide me on other areas that I may not be spending time learning as much about. Like, I mean, obviously I take time to learn about crypto and other things, but not nearly as much time as I've spent or dedicated to learning gut health or other things like that, right? So that's kind of like how I see this, you know, and how do we create different avenues to help each other grow. Like for me, you know, I obviously like I want to see everyone in the community achieve like their best health, and so I'm kind of like thinking, okay, like how do I make that possible, you know, for others, and then other people that maybe as they see me taking the lead on doing something like that, maybe they start to do something similar with whatever it is that they're teaching, that they're doing, that they're knowledgeable in, and then just basically put that, you know, put a program up their own, you know, doing kind of like what I'm doing, you know, just helping, guiding people, giving that counsel where needed.
I think creating like profiles, each person creating their own profile, and us having like a set of, you know, tabs for them to answer, and creating a profile of their offering and their skill set and everything like that. We could create something, maybe, yeah, it could be a type form, or, you know, people could just, you know, have their own, we could just input the information some way, but just have like a questionnaire, and maybe upload that somewhere, you know, having a database where we can connect with one another.
In terms of what you have to offer,
Yeah,
the
what
community
you
or
have
the
to offer.
world or both.
Yeah, what was that?
Oh, well, we did kind of pose this question in a type form already, is why I'm asking. Not everyone filled it out, but we did post it in Discord, just asking like, what's your skill set? What do you have to offer this community? What do you have to offer the world? And how would you like to integrate that into the Lightleaders Mastermind? Is that kind of what you were getting at? Okay, so we can restructure a new kind of type form, and re-promote it, for lack of better terminology.
I'm wondering, is there any websites that allow us to create different, where people could have their own login on their own page and like just, you know, edit that information?
We could create a section in our Notion board that like houses a list of individuals involved, and then like come up with like the key defining attributes of like who that person is, like what their role is, what their offer is to the community, what their offer is to the world, where they fit into like the larger puzzle.
And I
think
I'd say even better than that is if people, you know, what maybe watching this, watching the replay, if they just start to basically, you know, come forward and start, you know, offering their, you know, their knowledge to the community. And, you know, I mean, I'm going to start doing this myself. So I've been, like I said, I've been working on my own website and basically preparing, you know, something for it. So maybe once people see, you know, like someone like kind of like doing it and, you know, leading by example, basically, maybe they'll get to see like, okay, like that's what's being done here. Let me see how I can contribute and, you know, do my part, kind of thing.
I think that's great. I think, you know, even having a place where people put up what they're seeking, and, you know, activating the network to be like, you know, out there looking at what's out there, what do people need help with, and can I contribute, or do I know somebody that can contribute, and really activating that network. So I might even see something where somebody's looking for some gut health, and I'll be like, well, I don't do that, but I'll refer Jorge, so things like that. But people could post up projects as well, whatever they're doing. Like, let's say, for instance, Jorge needed help with marketing, which I don't think he does, because I think he's good at marketing too, probably. But for instance, and somebody else from the crew coming to help that and bring their skills, or bring the people. And then we can really use this to empower projects to get lift off, because we have this collective genius energy that we can just use this as a launch pad, a catapult for everyone's dreams.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly kind of like what I was thinking, is because, like, for example, I'm not like, I do some website work just because I've been, I guess, doing online marketing for years, but technology really slows me down, and it's not really what I like to do. I just do it because it's, been part of it. But now that we're moving into a Web3 world, it's almost like you have to like relearn everything. And that's where I'm like, okay, now if someone can just build an app and do like all the Web3 work, if that's it, like, come forward and, watch what, what we're doing, and then just offer to like basically take our old technology from Web 2, the legacy world, into the new world. That's kind of like what I think would be very useful.
Beautiful. Also, then, just to highlight, because this is also like what I meant by kind of like the closed loop system, non-extractive aspect of the AZPO, autonomous 0 point organization, is that, like, as we start doing these things, it's not like, for example, Jorge, if I need gut health, I wouldn't like reach out to you as a member of the mastermind and receive help with my gut health as a result of like paying you for that help. It would be more like, we've agreed to be part of the same community, and to, within that community dynamic, uplift everyone involved, so then you would provide those gut health services, knowing that, like, in the future, when you needed, for example, help with marketing or help with this or that, that like another member of the community would be there to help you with that. Right. And so, like, as this community builds, and as we fully integrate the AZPO model, if that's what we feel like is going to work, then it becomes this kind of like self-sustained ecosystem where we all have what we need whenever we need it, just knowing that the community has our back. And then that's within the community, right? Like, obviously, as well, if we can like build the community by attracting other people, then there's potential for monetization of individual platforms in that regard. But I'm just speaking within the community structure, just to further highlight what an autonomous 0 point organization is. But aside from that, it sounds like what you guys are saying is that within some dynamic, Discord, Telegram, Notion, or building a website somewhere, we'd like to see what I've typed down here, like a space where it's very clear, like, how we can network with one another.
I was just looking at the tabs here on Discord, where we have general channels, mastermind, etc. Maybe a separate tab, and we can have, just to get the ball rolling, profiles. Yeah. Because I noticed that there was an introductions, but not everyone has, including myself, has completed that sort of introduction. So maybe just a user profiles, and we can put a couple of sort of onboarding questions, as you were saying earlier, Jorge. So, what's your vision? What are your skills? What are you offering to the community? So that way we can see that, perhaps maybe we don't onboard 20 other people who are specialists in gut health. So how do we manage that? If you're a specialist in gut health and there are 19 other people that want to join who are specialists in gut health, so how do we have that conversation around, do we include them or not?
Right, and that comes back full circle to my also highlighting at the beginning of this call, getting really clear on like how we're going to extend this offer to the world and what are the pieces necessary for that, right? Like, for example, if we decide that we need 20 gut health experts, like, then great, we know we need 19 others. But if we decide that we don't need 20 gut health experts, but instead we need positions A, B, C, and D, right? Then we're clear on that, and then the manifestation process becomes much more streamlined when we know where we're going and how we think we're going to get there, and then the pieces that are missing will just kind of start coming to us, if you will.
And just regarding the example of the gut health specialist, you might want even more than one gut health specialist, because it's like an emerging field, and there could be different synergies where one person's learning from the other, and everybody's got different could have different ways of healing it, and everybody has different cases. Just an example of that. So there could be multiple different healers that little network of healers actually they learn from one another, and they all up level. So I think there's value in that as well. But
that is absolutely the case, because that's kind of like where I'm at. I mean, I know that my method is pretty universal and has helped a lot of people from different kinds of issues, but there's certain things that I just haven't really experienced myself, and there may be differences that I could help someone, but it's hard for me to help someone with something that I haven't experienced myself. But if I can guide someone that has like specific issue, and then they become an expert in their category, that's definitely useful. Like an example would be like someone, for example, that a common type of person that I've helped in the past is people that have had like their gallbladders removed. And so I understand why they ended up in that position, but I don't know what it's like to be without a gallbladder, other than I know like the function and what are certain things that I would do if I didn't have a gallbladder. But someone that's in that position will probably be able to better take that specific topic and become a master at it. Like that's kind of like the cool thing about this. So
I guess maybe from that way that so the people feed into the overall arching arms of the system. So if you look at the current government, they have health care, then they have education, then they might have the military, etc. So we won't be having those, but do we create that top down? So what does a society that values healthy human development look like, right? And then so we're looking at from the mastermind, like self-governance, health, right? Regeneration, fools, that was, what else is there? So
yeah, I like where you're going with that.
And then under that, the gut, sorry, I just caught it again. The gut would fall under health. So then that way we could have multiple people coming under the arm of health, right? So then that's the healthcare system. Then maybe perhaps another one education, perhaps another one regeneration, perhaps another one who look after the self-governance and the way the tokenomics work in that organization. So I guess we're creating a model of a truly decentralized new world, and then that way that could be replicated or scaled ultimately. Is that perhaps the vision that we're looking at?
I think so, yeah. I mean, because one thing that I was noticing when I was listening to other speakers during the first mastermind is, just the use of the word regeneration. Like a lot of things that I do with gut health are, I talk a lot about detoxing, regenerating cells, and then from a food perspective, like my food choices involve basically seeking sources that use regenerative farming practices. And I was hearing, I said, Nicholas from Seeds, talking about basically using similar concepts for governance. I was like, that's interesting. Like, I didn't understand like his concept fully, but just the fact that he was using the terminology, is like, okay, there's got to be something good, in that. And then there's also, it's not just for me, it's not just like diet detoxing, but also, working out, like training your body, connecting mind and body, whether it's through yoga, body weight, basically training your body. That's like even a whole other area. But essentially what I think of it like, it's all the things that we should have been taught in school: how to get clean water, how to grow your own food, how to be self-sovereign, basically. And we're creating that education system that we outsourced. I mean, we seem to have outsourced a lot of things that are important to us. We outsource our health, right? A lot of people basically depend on doctors to tell them how to be healthy, and we see where that's led us. We've outsourced, education for kids. And so what are the topics that are being taught in school? I usually joke with people, it's like they teach you how to calculate the hypotenuse of your lunchbox, but they don't tell you what to put in your lunchbox. So it's like going back to those basic like fundamentals that people should be learning if they want to be sovereign and live healthy lifestyles.
Yeah, I love that. Everything that we were never taught in school.
So I want to ask you guys this, because I feel like we're talking about two different things, but maybe they're the same. But I'm not clear on like which one you guys are feeling like is number one and number two per se. So this sixth point that I just typed here that's highlighted, we're talking about onboarding people into new paradigms, but we're also talking about like educating them within the dynamic of what we think the new paradigm should look like.
Ryan was talking about, and exploring that. I feel like it's a more high level conversation where we should start at before getting down into the different branches of this, into the details. I feel like that's like where half the conversation was going. Is that what you're referring to, John?
Yeah. And this is good because this is like the master plan development, that high level conversation that I was saying could take a month or two or more. But we do need to get in alignment about like the higher level stuff and the full breadth of all of our visions, and figure out how to bring it all together into one thing first. And then all the granular details of how it happens become much, much, much easier. But I guess
I think cultivating the principles is going to be where it all trickles down. When we align ourselves with those principles is what creates the self-organization. Teaching people how to be light leaders, how to operate in openness and honesty and vulnerability and all of these, and opening up that space of collaboration and then there's going to be a lot of things that spin off from this within this, health path, or, teaching people about different things. Like little groups will form around each one of these individual projects. But I feel like just bringing together all those high level leaders that want to work together and help one another is how we're going to like spread more light, all learning from one another, like really creating something that it just works really well. It's very efficient. Everybody's helping one another and everybody is rising. And then people will see this and it will just pick up traction from that alone. From us really like collaborating and doing well, and everyone doing really well. And yeah, just
right.
The more benefit we put out.
Cool. I agree. So again, these first 2 points are super, super important. What are our values and what is our vision mission? So what I think can be go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, I think we can kind of like go back and boil it down to like that definition of like what does it mean to be a sovereign awakened healer? And it's kind of like, well, like those are the skills that someone who is sovereign has. Like they know how to take care of their health, they know how to create wealth, and then like the top three mega niches, right? You have health, wealth, and happiness. Happiness, I think we can put that under the, every relationship starts with a relationship with self. And so like a sovereign awakened healer has a, first and foremost, a really good relationship with self, right? They're constantly going within to seek power, and that's what, allows them to be a giver, right? Because they love themselves first and foremost. And having that solid relationship with themselves is what allows them to show up into the world and love others, because they, that's what it, at least that's been my definition when I went through my awakening. It's like, whoa, like when I started spending time with myself and, taking care of myself and silencing my thoughts, just being present in the moment, feeling and experiencing love is basically what allowed me to show up and radiate that back. Right. And so I don't know if that's something that can be taught, honestly, because I think I had to go through a pretty major crisis to experience that. But I feel like someone who's gone through that, there's a lot of lessons to be learned as far as, like what are things that I've done since experiencing that, awakening, that have helped me, raise my energy, have a better relationship with self, kind of thing. But yeah, I think it can be boiled down to those three topics.
Okay, and then I think the people that align with our values and principles will be individuals such that they're at least far enough along their individual journey that they've begun to realize these things in order to be able to resonate with them. So I think in terms of building the Light Leaders Mastermind, like in the individuals that we have within this container, most individuals will already be like further along that journey, if you will, and then another topic of conversation once things are more established is like, how do we, help people who aren't as far along on this journey, type of thing.
Right. And I think where the group can come together is like, for example, like under health, what I'm going to be doing is like, I'm going to be teaching the skills, the habits that I feel are important to be able to live have a healthy body. And if there's other experts in like the topic of relationship with self, whether it's healing past traumas or whatever it is, or in the topic of like wealth, people that are a lot more into like crypto and investing and creating wealth, what are the skills that they feel someone who is sovereign should have in those areas. I think that's where we can start to kind of give shape to each of these areas.
Okay, cool. I agree. So we did just talk about a lot of things, and it is approaching 10 here, guys. So I want to respect all of our time. But what I think the best course of action is that I'm going to take everything that I just typed and all of the brainstorming that we just did and consolidate it into a rough draft outlook of things to like most important thing to get clear on first, second, third, fourth, etc. And then within that structured outlook, I'll implement the notes that I've taken here in a more rough draft kind of further progression. For example, the values and principles, instead of just a rough list of 20 random ideas, I'll consolidate it into 10 and expand with a little bit of copy there. And then give all of you guys access to that document. And maybe we can each have like a different color font or something, but then before next week, we could each visit the document for, even half an hour, and just kind of review it, have a better understanding of it, focusing most on like the first and second parts, but then we can each add in our little thoughts, so then there will be more structure to the continuation of this conversation. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay.
It's going to be in the Notion?
I will, once the document is created, I will put it in the Notion, and then I will attach the link in the Telegram group.
Cool.
And then everyone will have access to go into the document and add like you guys all use Google Docs, yeah, where you can like add comments or change the text or use different color fonts. And So then I think we'll have a place to brainstorm. And then if something comes to you in the next days or whatever, you'll have a place that you can type it down. And then when we're all looking at the same document, we'll be able to refine and tweak and solidify things.
Cool.
Beautiful. So I think that was a really, really awesome brainstorm session, guys. There's a lot here. Like I said, it's going to take us a bit to establish like a true master plan, but once that's in place, the attraction mechanism and streamlining ability of us to move forward working together, it's all just going to start like really snowballing, you know. So
Great. Lovely to share the space with you, everyone.
Yes.
And yeah, I look forward to reconnecting
Likewise.
again.
okay, guys, thank you. Stay tuned for a document coming your way soon, and we'll talk again next week and get deeper into it.
That's good.
All right, brothers.
Yeah.
Love.
Peace.